Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show, and welcome to special edition. It's Lord Nityananda's appearance day. It's a special holiday today. And Kaustubha and myself are going to share about Lord Nityananda today, as well as other interesting stuff. We always say stuff like Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. You hear people say that a lot. If you go to kirtans, people say Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. So there's Nitai and Gaura. Gaura is Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya was famous for really reviving the bhakti culture about 500 years ago all over India. And people from all walks of life, literally, it's like this viral, things were viral. Even before the internet, things went viral. It's hard to believe, but I remember viral things happening when I was young. But there was like a viral movement of bhakti where people were like dropping out of the world and literally going to this sacred jungle of Vrindavan. And they were getting incredibly focused and serious. And it was like without newspapers, without like Twitter saying, let's all get into bhakti. It was just a mass movement. It was headed up by Chaitanya. And then Nityananda, who they call his brother, wasn't actually his brother, but he was his cohort in transcendental activities. And Nityananda, so when we say Nitai Gaura, it's Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. Gaura is a name for Lord Chaitanya. But it was a magical time in India, wasn't it, Kaustubha?
Well, I wasn't there. At least I don't remember it.
You weren't.
From what
you
I
might have
heard.
been. You might have been. We don't know this.
That's
This
true.
could be your present manifestation here to resurrect the pastimes in 2021.
I'll play my tiny little part in it anyway. But yeah, Raghunath and I thought it's such an esoteric topic that we were wondering, should we even kind of get into it today,
Yeah.
Because it's, unless you have some familiarity with the culture and the theology and all of that, it's hard to explain, but we can try. We thought maybe we could try to explain a little bit, just briefly, and we can also talk about some of the leelas, some of the pastimes of Nityananda. And maybe even some of our own, because you and I have some pastimes on this day too, right?
It's a holy day for me and Kaustubha because we were both. I got first initiation on this day in 1991, and Kaustubha got second initiation that day.
In the same ceremony.
In Vrindavan on Lord Nityananda's appearance day. So it's our birthdays of sorts.
Yeah, I remember the day so fondly,
Yeah, it was a great day. It was a great day in that beautiful Vrindavan courtyard.
That courtyard of the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan is like, it's something about it is like indescribably sublime and beautiful, and just it's so wonderful there, isn't it?
I've had dreams of that courtyard.
I bet
Serious,
you
like
have.
spiritual dreams of that courtyard. It's a sunken courtyard and open air if you've never been there.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like you could get a random bird to fly into the temple. I love how Indians are like, we're okay with this. Imagine if a bird
Well,
was to
now they
fly
do
into your
have
apartment
nets
or
up there.
what's that?
Now they do have nets up there.
Oh, they
Like
do have
there's a
nets.
net over it. Yeah,
There's still a
especially
random
for the
bird
monkeys.
flying in
It's
there
for the
though.
the birds come in the door. That's true. Yeah, they come in the
They do.
doorway.
I
Yeah.
like how in India they're just sort of like, there's a bird in the temple. Let's let it go. In America, if a bird gets into an airport or something, they're like, a bird. There's- there is a type of acceptance. So yeah, it is a holy day, and it is a little peculiar to understand Lord Nityananda because he is so out of this world. I was thinking the analogy of fool's gold. Ever heard of fool's gold? It
I
looks
have
just
heard
like
of.
gold, but
You
it's not
occasionally like to
gold.
bring up the topic of fool's gold.
It's an interesting thing. When miners used to go out for gold. So in in one sense, there is a type of like mental disturbance, insanity, schizophrenia that people get that is it's problematic, for their state of health and mental health. It's a big issue. But great spiritualists have noticed that there's also something that happens to people when they become so spiritual. They're like not out of they're out of this world. But you can't just say anybody acting crazy is they're like liberated souls. It's not to teach us to be crazy. But Lord Nityananda had this condition where he was almost like not of this world, and it was real gold. And it's confirmed by all the greatest saints who lived at that time. Like, this is no ordinary being, and the things he would do are just like it's hard to even describe. He would like sometimes run around, jump on random bulls, and say, "I am Lord Shiva," and everyone would be like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Sometimes he would see a crocodile in the Ganga. He would dive on crocodiles, wrestle crocodiles. Sometimes he would just wander around naked and just start chanting. If This is why we didn't want to get into this right away, because
Yeah. What are you doing?
you know what? Sometimes you just got to pull the curtain.
All right.
I'm just gonna pull the curtain because as soon as you go into a little bit of Lord Nityananda, all this stuff comes out. But I wanted to point out the fact that it's not. We don't recommend this, but this was Lord Nityananda. This was Lord
Well,
Nityananda's thing.
why
He
don't
was
we
out of this world.
why don't we go a little bit away? Why don't we get a little bit into the tattva just before we get into the Leela?
Why don't
Okay.
you explain that,
Yeah,
Tattva?
and in a very brief way, if you want to understand bhakti theology, right? In one sense, there are many ways. Like, for instance, when you hear the teachings, of bhakti yoga, you can connect them with, say, like the teachings of Catholicism. You can see all the parallels and the connections of what Jesus was teaching. That's there. But also, there's this esoteric side to it. And so, when we're talking about yoga and when we're talking about controlling the mind and the senses and, and the different regulations for purifying, one's consciousness and whether it be physical or mental or, types of sadhana and things like that, that all sounds, it can, I find, it sounds very rational. It can be explained. Someone may not buy into it or see the value in it necessarily, but it's rational enough. Um, and and then, on top of that, we're kind of, most of us have grown up with like a Judeo-Christian kind of idea of theology, of how to understand who God is or what God is and so on. You have to really be, if you want to go into this, you have to really be able to kind of be willing to kind of go beyond that, go like way beyond that.
Mhm.
And so this is here in a nutshell. Here's a taste of what this bhakti theology is like. It's saying that the root of all existence um, manifests in three different ways. One is energy that's like all pervasive, Brahman. Also within the heart of every living being, that's called Paramatma. But the even more esoteric side is understanding that God is a person, and that you can know that person, and you can love that person, and you can even love that person in very intimate ways. And this is a big key, that the intimacy that we see in this world, the love that we see in this world in all its varieties, the theologians from the Bhakti tradition would say that it's not that when we hear these stories about God, these leelas, that, the materialists will say, oh, you're making up those stories as a reflection of what's going on in this world. They say, no, 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 you've got it backwards. What's going on in this world is a reflection of what happens in the spiritual reality, that there are varieties of love that God shares with those that love God. And those varieties are reflected here. So the parental love that we see here, the love of a parent for a child, some very special emotion, you
Mm.
know, that we see here, that's actually experienced in the spiritual realm. And it's in its imperfect form here, and through yoga we're meant to perfect that and bring that out of ourselves again. And the love of friendship that we see here, the romantic love even that we see here, these are all reflections of the love that goes on in the spiritual realm. So Krishna, he's called Akila Rasamrita Murti. It means that in that form, because he'll take many forms to experience love and adventure in many different ways. But in that form of Krishna, that boy Krishna, that form facilitates all the different varieties of love. Right? You can love him like a lover. You can love him like a friend. You can love him like a parent. You can love him in all these in subtle varieties of all of these as well. So that's Krishna. When Krishna wants to experience all these different varieties of love, that he's manifests, as himself. But but now this gets special. When he wants to experience giving that love away. In other words, that bhakti, that love for God, is a feeling that even God doesn't have, right? Because he's the center of it. People, he's returning love that's given to him. But he notices, he realizes that those that love me, right, that love God, their experience, what they feel, the ecstasy that they feel in that love is even more intense or special than the love I feel feeling their love for me. And I want to know what that's like. I want to experience that. And so he appears as Sri Chaitanya. And Sri Chaitanya has an internal purpose and an external purpose. And the internal purpose is I want to experience that love. What is the love of Radha like? What is the greatest love for God? What does it feel like? But he also wants to experience the giving this feeling away, right? The giving this high state of yoga away, this high state of consciousness away. I want everyone to experience it. And so it's said that he's the most compassionate manifestation. It is Krishna. Sri Chaitanya is Krishna, but it's Krishna in a certain mood. It's Krishna in a mood of, they say that the Sanskrit word is audarya, or compassion. Like just like feeling, soft-hearted feeling of wanting to share this with others, regardless. And this is important because, especially for us wisdom of the sages people, regardless of one's qualification, or even, more precisely said, regardless of one's disqualification, he wants to give it, right? So that's Sri Chaitanya. Now, it's said that the first expansion of Krishna is his brother Balaram. And this is, again, now that gets, what? But like, yeah, yeah, because,
This is such a buildup compared to me just saying he ran around naked and jumped on a bull.
well, we can get to that, but you got to get all this first.
I was like, let's just jump in the deep water quick.
you got to get this first. So in order to enjoy varieties of love, Krishna expands in all different ways. We, in one sense, are an expansion of that because we are the energy of God. But there are special expansions. In this original expansion is non-different from him, and that's called Balaram, or Krishna's brother, from whom Krishna experiences the love of a brother from. He also experiences slight, because he's the elder brother, slight kind of parental love also, because the elder sibling, kind of has a certain type of parental care for the younger sibling. But maybe more fundamental for us to understand is it said that Balaram, he personifies, you could say, the ego of servitorship, right? The mentality of service. And this is really important, because every living being follows in the wake of that, and we're all meant to reconnect with that or re-understand that. So that it's said that Balaram is the original guru, right? Because he personifies, and through his personification of it teaches service, right? Service to God, and that service is our nature, and that only through service, right? Loving service do we find our complete reconnection and satisfaction of the soul. Now, in Chaitanya's Leela, when Krishna comes as Chaitanya, it's said that his mood is in Krishna Leela, when he's Krishna, his mood is Madhurya. It's very, very sweet. And when he comes to Sri Chaitanya, his mood is Audarya, which means, again, very compassionate, very merciful. And so Balaram also comes in, when Krishna comes as Chaitanya, his brother Balaram, the original guru, comes as Nityananda. And Nityananda personifies again that principle of guru, that identity or ego or mentality of servitude. And because Sri Chaitanya is coming with that compassionate mood, as I said, disqualification is not considered, right? You may not be the greatest yogi. He's coming to help you anyway, right? He's on a mission. And Nityananda, as that original guru, is on the super mission. Because even within Chaitanya's Leela, we see, like, if you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, to this incredible, mind-blowing, lengthy
Biography.
text on Bhakti Yoga and the life of Sri Chaitanya, we see Sri Chaitanya, he speaks and blows the mind and of these super important figures in society, like these high level figures, like the king of Orissa, the guru of the king of Orissa, you know um, the biggest spiritual leaders of the time, right? Prakashananda Saraswati, people like this,
These are all
Sarvabhauma
recorded.
Bhattacharya. Yeah.
Yeah, these are all recorded in this. Yeah, we do get a glimpse into what it was like at that viral time of the Bhakti Renaissance, because they're just biographies. People
Yes.
kept biographies of all these personalities, what was happening, the mystical things that went on there, the temples they built and established, the people changing their life, the people who like like Kaustubha was saying, kings or great scholars, just like transforming their lives. And these great and the biographers themselves were like not just like what we would consider like a tenured professor at Harvard. They weren't just like PhDs. They also had like impeccable character. They were great saints or
Mm.
gurus in their own right, and they just documented it all. And there's so many biographies of Lord Chaitanya and also what was happening at that time, so we can get a glimpse in.
Yeah. and
Okay.
and so again, Sri Chaitanya was like, he was reaching these very high level people. And those conversations in the Chaitanya Charitamrita are really, they're what established the Bhakti philosophy and theology. It's fascinating reading. His conversations with Brahmananda Roy, his conversation with Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Prakashananda Saraswati, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. These are really, really important conversations that are recorded, and books grow out of those, and those books become fundamental teachings of Bhakti Yoga. But Nityananda, he's going for the dented cans, right? He's going through the villages. He's begging door to door.
Hmm.
Please take this. What is he taking? Like, what is it that he's providing? Really, he's out there to kind of establish that through the practice of Bhakti Yoga, and specifically through chanting these names, through kirtan, right? You may be disqualified. We don't care. Just accept this kirtan. Just embrace this kirtan. Just join into this kirtan, and you will find that your life will be completely changed, and you'll drown in love of God. That was his thing. That was his mission. And he and his associates, they were kind of like, they had this really fun, I don't know how to describe it, but like they were just having fun doing this,
Well, it helps
spreading
to
this,
be sort of like a transcendental madman, which he was.
which he was.
And he was like sort of giggling and excited and had no fear to go anywhere. Like in the case of Jagai and Madai.
Well, that was one of the most important
When,
leelas there, right?
yeah, and the Lord Chaitanya said, this is something very great. Give it away, give it to everybody, go to their houses. And so Nityananda would go with Haridas. And Haridas, another interesting, he was the one that was from a Muslim family. This is at the time, we speak about, colonization. Imagine all of India is like dominated by a very, very cruel Mughal culture at the time.
Brutal.
And brutal. It was one of the brutalest times of history for like
India.
genocides and imprisonment and things like that. So it was Nityananda, and Haridas was just like a transcendentalist. He was born in that Muslim family, but was just attracted to the very broad teachings of Vedic culture. So he received a lot of punishment for taking up what was considered Hindu dharma, even though it's the dharma of the soul. It's not for whether you're a Hindu or a Christian. When you study Vedic teachings, you start to realize, like, this has nothing to do with religion. We're all spiritual beings here.
In other words, the part of the practice of the Muslim leaders at that time was converting people to become Muslims, and they would do it in brutal ways. Whether it was like through taxing you brutally until you became, Muslim, or imprisoning you. There's so many brutal tactics that but with Haridas, he was born in a Muslim family. He was going the other direction, and he was becoming a very prominent figure because his devotion was so deep that he affected everyone that he met. So he became the focus of severe brutality.
They put him in prison, and all the other prisoners were like, we want to be like you. So that's the power of liberated souls, is like you hang out with them and you're like, I want to change my life now. I want to become just like you. It's the way to change the world, is you change yourself. And so Nityananda said to Haridas, hey, let's just go door to door and just beg these people to take Krishna's name. Imagine this. You have someone knocking at your door, and it's Haridas Thakur and Nityananda. And they would literally, Lord Nityananda used to literally get down on his knees, bow down and say, please chant the holy name of Lord. Doesn't Krishna Mata, Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dana Pran, right? He said, Krishna is your mother. Krishna is your father. Krishna is your very life and soul. Take this name. Take it. Now, coming from a Hindu culture, if you see some great saint come to your door, you're like, oh, come in, please, let me off. And imagine if that was like America, someone just coming in there begging, please. But the devotees still in the European countries, it's considered weird. It's considered weird. But there was also, you got to consider, not everybody is there, pious. And some people are just like more materialistic. And even in that culture, people would either say, hey, I'll come on in. You
this
sit
is great.
sadhu down. This is great. Thank you. Would you like some prasad? And some people would just say, get out of here. Get away from my doorstep. Get off my lawn. I don't know if they had lawns, but get off my lawn. But they would go on and on like this. And then they noticed a crowd of people and a disturbance. Sometimes you're like somewhere out and you see like a disturbance, and they noticed a disturbance. And it was
Who noticed the disturbance?
Nityananda and Haridas.
Okay, they're out on their mission.
They're out on their mission, and they see some disturbance happening. And it's these two very, very out of control drunkards who, if you've seen people, intoxicated, sometimes they're fighting each other, sometimes they're hugging each other, they're making a scene. And Lord Nityananda inquired, who are these people? And all the village people said, stay away from them. These guys are trouble. These guys are troublemakers. Like, what's the deal? What's their story? He goes, this is Jagai and Madai. Don't you know? These guys were like, I don't know if you grew up with some local criminals. We knew, me and Kaustubha knew some local criminals in our days. But people you just feared. And these guys were notorious. They were cow killers. They were thieves. They were arsonists.
Burned down
they
your
were
house.
Just like big, huh?
You burn down your house.
They'd burn down your house. They were just like they would. For most people, it would just be like cross the street, stay away, don't get near, don't get mixed up with them. And they were a little lawless. They were uncontrollable, but they were from good families. They were actually from Brahmin families. But it's the same thing that we always say on the show. You got to be careful who you hang out with. You hang out with people, and you start to become like those people. So due to bad association, they gave up all their Brahminical practices. And they just started becoming the biggest, scariest criminals in town. So when now most people, of course, would just say, okay, crazy people, stay away. Nityananda said something else. He said, oh, crazy people.
That's who we're going for.
We're going for the crazies. We're going, a matter of fact, some of you are the crazies and you don't understand it, but you've been personally delivered by Lord Nityananda. Nityananda, as Kaustubha said, goes for the dented cans, and he's in his whole.
The more dented, the better was his mood.
Yeah,
right?
If we can resurrect their spiritual life, we can do it for anybody. Anybody can do it, And so Nityananda went right up to them, and he bowed down at their feet, and here are these two holy people bowing down at our feet, and they said, all you need to do is take this sweet name. Oh, respectable gentlemen, take this sweet name of Lord Krishna. He is your mother. He is your father. He is your very life and soul. Give up all these crazy habits of yours. You will find no happiness in the things you are doing right now. Not one bit of happiness exists there. But if you take Krishna's name, your whole life will transform. Hear me, my friends. Please hear me.
He's down there begging on the ground.
They're begging.
But theologically, you have to think about this right now, right? This is an expansion of God. Come here in a mood of love and mercy, down on the ground. He's not sitting up on the throne, right? Judging. He's finding the most spiritually destitute person and getting down on the ground below them and begging them. He's a beggar.
It's a nice way to put it. He's not going up to the local priests or the local saints. He's going to the lowest and he's begging. Yeah. And of course, in their intoxicated state, they didn't get it. I mean, they sort of like, okay, here's a holy people. And they just started getting louder and angry. All the village people watching this were now also getting very nervous. Oh, these sadhus are going to die. And they just ran and they just started running. But because Lord Nityananda is so out of this world, he's laughing and running like, let's get out of here. And Haridas Thakur is joking and he goes, just see what happens whenever I associate with you.
They're running and they're talking like this.
They're talking.
Every time I come out with you, we get in trouble.
He's saying, this association of yours is so bad for me. Why am I always hanging out with you, Lord Nityananda? This is incredible. You get me into so much trouble wherever we go. It's due to bad association that one ruins their life. And Lord Nityananda constantly denying it. Oh, no, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm quite fine. And so they would have this like banter and silly banter running back and forth. And they used to go to the house of Srivas Thakur and enjoy beautiful kirtans. So this was the secret house. Just like when I go to Kaustubha's house, it is also the secret house. Kaustubha's, whenever I go there, it always is filled with transcendental sounds, transcendental relationships.
You bring it with you, Raghu. You bring it like a representative of Nityananda.
No, I'm like an outsider peering in. I'm trying to get in. Let me in, please. Please, Raghunath. Sit down, have some prasad. Your wife comes and feeds
I've been
me.
missing you,
I'm like Pigpen from Snoopy with all the flies around me.
You're more like Linus. You come and bring your blanket and lie down on my couch.
I don't even know if people watch Snoopy anymore. But anyway, so now they're going to this sacred house of Srivas Thakur to enjoy these beautiful kirtans. And so on the way back, Lord Nityananda is walking and he sees Madai and Jagai.
Oh, boy.
And he smiles. He says, oh,
it's those guys again.
And of course, Jagai Madai goes, oh, these saintly people again. And he gets very angry and he bows down to them again. grabbing hold of their feet. Oh, Jagai Madai, you great souls, you heard us chanting. Now, Jagai Madai, actually, they were actually in their drunken state. They were actually hearing that music and chanting outside also. It's so funny because some of us got into bhakti, and even in a joking way, we heard people chanting. And we thought, oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And we ourselves joked and chanted like that. And little did we know that is agyata sukriti, or unknowingly, we did something spiritual. Like we chanted powerful mantras, not even in a serious meditational way, but in a joking way. Have you ever done that, Kaustubha, before
I'd imagine I
you're
probably did. I can't remember it, but you know, they were in the neighborhood, and it's likely, very likely, on some level, I did. Why
want
did
to hear
you?
something crazy? I knew of Krishna devotees, but to me, it was just very, very peculiar.
Me too.
I was very similar to Madai here, and I was riding my bike with Paramananda, actually, with
Okay,
Paramananda
what
and
was?
some
Oh, we got
other.
a modern day Mudai and Jugai here. Straight edge, straight edge Jugai and
Well,
Mudai.
I'll take Madai.
Okay.
I think Jagai was the more pious one, so I'll give that one to Paramananda.
Okay.
So we were riding down, like me and Paramananda, about like five other of our friends riding mountain bikes down Lexington Avenue. And I was a vegetarian, and I was getting into vegetarianism, and I looked to the left and I noticed this butcher shop with, like, you ever see the, like, skinned animals hanging, and some people think that's really cool. Wow, an actual whole animal. And it's very impressive to some people, but being a new vegetarian, I was like, this is disgusting. And at the top of my lungs, going down Lexington Avenue, I just started going, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, like to counteract the effects of seeing that corpse. And I tell you, I just started singing it. I don't know why I was singing it. And check this out. The front wheel of my bicycle fell off.
Whoa.
I know. And I flew over my handlebars
While
in a
you're chanting?
total, while I was chanting. Matter of
Okay.
fact, I slightly looked to one side, and the side of my head hit the ground, and I ended up on my feet. And I was like in so much of a panic, I started screaming, Krishna, Krishna.
What?
I kid you not, this is true.
All right.
And I tell you this, they
Help
say
me.
that chanting the Lord's holy name reduces any type of karma you might get. I've heard that later, but I was completely unhurt. I like skinned my ear, landed on my feet. My face was turned to the left. If my face was straight ahead, I would have smashed my face on the ground.
You know
There
what we
was
call that, Raghu?
what? A Krishna miracle?
Yeah, that's right.
That was a Krishna miracle. That was a full-on chanting. I had no idea why I was chanting. And I turned my head at the last moment, scraped my ear, stand it up, and just started saying Krishna. It's a Krishna
Okay.
miracle.
Now, what happened with Jagai and Mudai?
How did I even get talking about that?
We got there somehow. That's
There was something very important in that story.
no, because you were chanting, you know, and because
Oh,
you were
Agyata.
joking chanting. You're joking chanting.
Okay, yes. They were joking and chanting. So they were joking and chanting. And due to that, it developed some piety in the heart that we would, you get into it later. It stays with you, sometimes years down the road.
Okay.
And so this was happening then. They were hearing the chanting out of Srivas Thakur's house, and they were getting actual benefit. So when they went to, when Nityananda and Haridas went to them and said, hey, please, we are serious about this. You take the holy name. If you can take this holy name your entire life, all this pleasure you're trying to get through intoxication. And this is why people do get intoxicated. There's some pleasure there, but it's a very lowbrow type of pleasure. And it's a type of pleasure that can ruin your life, ruin your family, ruin your career, everything. And finally, they just said, he just got furious. Madai got furious. And he was drinking out of this clay pot. And you see in India, you get these clay pots, they give you a cup of lassi in or a cup of tea in. And it almost looks like an archaeological find, but it's disposable. You ever drink out of those clay pots? You're like, look at this beautiful thing. And then you
that
throw it
place
on the
in
ground.
I mean, of course I have. Yeah. So many places.
And he took this big clay pot and he smashed it and he whipped it at Lord Nityananda's face. And blood started coming all the way down his face and all over his body. and pieces of his flesh were torn, and he was still in this mood of just complete tolerance and complete love. And at that time, Jugai's heart softened.
Something happened to her.
Something happened, a change of heart. And he just started saying, hey, Mudai, stop. What are you doing? These guys are like saintly. Now, at the time, people were leaving Srivas Thakur's sacred little cottage, and they saw Lord Nityananda bleeding. And they went back and told Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda's hurt, come out quick. And they saw Nityananda in that mood of giving love and getting his whole head cut open like that. And Lord Chaitanya, furiously, something mystical started happening. He started manifesting from his fingers the Sudarshan chakra, the chakra that Lord Vishnu carries. Now, Chaitanya is an avatar of Vishnu, right? So he just put up his finger and this flaming wheel starts to manifest. Now, Lord Krishna, he kills demons with that chakra. Lord Vishnu kills demons. So many stories we're going to get to in the Bhagavatam is the killing of demons. But Lord Chaitanya is actually quite different. And Nityananda reminded him of this. He said, what are you doing, Chaitanya? What are you doing, Lord Chaitanya? Huh? Don't kill Jagai. Jagai saved my life. Jagai appeased Madai. And
he saw the good.
Right? He's good. He's good.
But he saw the good. There was practically no good in this person, but he just found something to,
Yeah, he said, this guy saved my life. These guys don't know what they're doing. He goes, you're coming with this chakra to kill. That's how Lord Krishna killed. But you've come actually to kill the demoniac propensities in people's heart. We're here to kill them with love, not with a weapon. And this is what we find, and this is why we call Chaitanya and Nityananda Patita Pavana. They deliver even the most fallen souls. And this is the beauty of the spiritual path of the dented cans. We're so damn dented. We are so damn dented. And it's almost shocking when we meet someone undented. They seem like they're from out of this world. But if you feel yourself a little dented, a little broken, a little like the island of broken toys?
I'm not familiar with that island.
Come on.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Mara's like, no. You know what I'm
clue.
talking about. It was that Christmas special where there was like all the broken
People
toys.
saying misfit toys?
The misfit toys, the island of misfit toys. If you feel like you're a little bit of a misfit, you don't fit in, well, we got something for you.
I know about the misfits.
You know about the misfits? If you like the misfits and agnostic front, we got something for you. We got the spiritual path for you. And it's not because we're great learned scholars. It's not because we're great renunciates, and not because we have some qualification. Our qualification is that we're broken.
Okay.
And in that brokenness, we're qualified. And this is the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And he says, you're going to reform these people, not through cutting off their heads, etc. They're going to be reformed by giving love. And this is sort of like the whole mission of receiving, and also of how we give. How we give is we always say this: we give with compassion and give with tolerance. Love, compassion, and tolerance. And if we have bhakti in any way,
LCT.
right? It's because someone was loving, compassionate, and tolerated all my nonsense. That's how I'm here. Someone tolerated my nonsense. Kaustubha still tolerated me.
Come on. So what happened to them? Give me the description. And try to save a little time maybe we could talk about Panihati Leela too.
Oh, wow. How did this class go by so fast?
Because you came in late today, Raghunath, and then you said hello to everybody like slower than you've ever done it before.
Thank you for being tolerant and compassionate, Prabhu. Lord Nityananda.
Maybe we can go a few minutes late today.
Yeah. Well, Lord Nityananda did just this. He said, forgive Jagai. And immediately Lord Chaitanya said, he saved your life? Oh, Jagai, come here.
That's
I
all you had to
deliver
hear.
you immediately.
Yeah.
And he goes, I reward you love of God immediately. Imagine Lord Chaitanya just doing that to you, giving you love of God immediately, just like mystically transferring it. And Jagai was sitting right there. And then Madai said, what about me, my Lord? What about me, my Lord? Will you deliver me? And Lord Chaitanya took off his glasses. No, that's just
Excuse me.
That's
an embellishment. That's really a unique one.
And he said, no, for you there will be no deliverance. You are the offender of the Vaishnava, of the devotee. There will be no deliverance for you. And then Lord Nityananda, he came, oh, you must deliver him. You must deliver him. How can you not deliver him? He said, there is no delivery for the offender. And this is also the very, very loud statement of the great, of the biographer. He said, offending the Vaishnava, the great souls, this is the worst thing we can do for our spiritual life. Take this to heart. Stop all offensive behavior. Stop being critical in the mind. Stop blasphemy. Stop being rude, dismissive, sarcastic to the devotees. Change. He goes, and if you have offended someone, you go to their feet and you beg for forgiveness. And when Lord Chaitanya said that, Madai immediately went to Lord Nityananda and put his head on Nityananda's feet and said, please forgive me. I'm lost. And Nityananda embraced him. I take no offense. I take no offense, and embraced him. And that was the delivery.
That's one of the 6 pillars of Bhakti.
Throw in a little 6 pillars, throw down your bifocals, whatever it takes to get the message across, Kaustubha. And these two became great souls.
Yeah.
And they were considered great souls by everyone. They couldn't stop. They chanted 200,000 names of God a day. They made this commitment. Whoa. And Madai especially they always remembered their shortcomings. Yeah. And this is important. We keep our shortcomings. We don't beat ourselves up with our shortcomings, but we remind it's good to remember where we're coming from. It keeps me from, in my own life, it keeps me from living in my pride and arrogance. If I can really clearly define how low I've gone, it keeps you humble. And Madai was like that. And he said to Lord Chaitanya, what can I do? What can I do to help people? And to remind myself of my fallen condition. And he says, here's what you can do. You build a bathing place on the Ganga. Whenever people come, you can take bath there. And they still have this Madai Ghat. Right? Yeah. You can go bathing in the Ganga at Madai Ghat. This is transformational, and it's happening to us as we speak. We are becoming transformed by that same potency of love of Lord Nityananda.
All right. Now tell me a little bit about the Panihati thing. What's that all about?
The Panihati thing, the Chidadahi Utsav.
Is that
the Chidadahi Utsav?
We're throwing out all kind of words.
That's the Utsav. What is Panihati? The festival.
What is? Yeah. Chip Rice Festival.
The Chip Rice Festival. And it was, interesting also, my namesake, Raghunath, I was named after a great saint, Raghunath Das. And he was so eager, incredible, a family of billionaires who were so competent at things that the Moguls just engaged them in service of the Mughal emperor. But they too, this is a special family. But sometimes even in those special families, their only son, he was just sort of like, no, I don't want this. And he was just obsessed. I want to leave, right? Yeah. I want to leave home. Go with Lord Chaitanya.
So Raghunath Das Goswami as a boy had heard all about the glories of Sri Chaitanya. And in his devotional heart, he was just he was running away from home again and again just to find Sri Chaitanya, right?
This is the thing you hear about. I mean, it's a sort of a modern day thing too. We've met people like this. We've met people who've run away from home to, they get a loud calling at a young age, a loud calling.
So he was running away, right? Huh? Go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. He was running away. And then finally he would beg his father, please, I want to spend some time with Sri Chaitanya. I've heard about this Sri Chaitanya. I want to go there. And so he's like, all right, you can go, but I'm going to send people with you. So he sends all these assistants and people with money and people with, bedding. And, it's basically nowadays, okay, you can go, but here's the platinum Amex card. Um, so he went into these, but he goes, and finally,
But hold it. The important point. Uh, he wanted to see Sri Chaitanya, and he was running away to see Sri Chaitanya, and his parents kept sending these people to drag him back, and he kept
mm,
running away. But he didn't let him see Sri Chaitanya. He let him go see Nityananda. It was
acha,
Nityananda who
acha,
was
acha.
going to see, right? So he had this
Yeah.
desire to give his life to Sri Chaitanya. Then Nityananda was in town, or somewhere nearby town, in this place called Panihati, which is on the bank of the Ganges River in Bengal. And so then he
Um,
was going to see Nityananda.
yeah, I know this is about Nityananda. That I was starting to go to Raghunath Das riff. The
Yeah,
Raghunath
well,
Das riff, it was because his instruction from Lord Chaitanya was, here's a deal. You
well,
stay at home, but act like everything's normal. But in your heart, cultivate this
we
very
skipped the
deep
whole story,
attachment.
though. We're going to get
I
to
know.
this
Well,
whole story.
then remember, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there because
Okay.
then he went to this Panihati and he met
Oh, okay.
Nityananda.
Okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, and when he saw Nityananda, Nityananda says, "Come here, you thief. Come here, you thief. You have bhakti. Come
Now,
here."
now, why
And
was he a thief? I can
um,
tell you why.
yeah. Why don't you tell some story? I'm doing a lot of talking.
Okay.
Tell the
Well, but
story.
you see, what happened was he went to go see Nityananda. Raghunath Das Goswami went to go see Nityananda. He's sitting on the bank of the Ganges with his associates. Right.
Mm,
It's a beautiful scene,
mm,
and a crowd is starting to build a little bit because everybody's like, "Oh, Nityananda's in town." Right, and all his associates, they do kirtan. They're incredible. And Raghunath Goswami is watching from a distance, right? And then Nityananda says, "Come here closer," but he's so humble that he's watching from a distance. But then Nityananda says, "You are a thief," and then he personally comes and drags him to him, right? But this is real important. One of the reasons why it said that he's a thief, one thing is because he's lurking in the background, right, like that. But this real important point is that the idea is you're trying to go by going to you're trying to go directly to Sri Chaitanya. It's like saying the soul trying to go directly to God.
mm.
Okay, but you can't just steal him that way, like a thief. You need to go through the devotees. That's the practice of bhakti. We don't try to directly serve God, but we try to serve the devotees of God. So for that crime, he was given the punishment. And what was the punishment? And this punishment, it says so much about the bhakti culture, right? It's, Raghunath and I, we've had these experiences where we've lived in Bengal and we've lived amongst this Gaudiya Vaishnava culture and also in Vrindavan, and you see it. This was the punishment. I want you to make a big feast for all of these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, right?
So you got all
That's,
this money, you got all these
yeah,
people.
serve.
Go into the village,
Yeah.
serve them and I tell you, this is like a catering dream come true.
Mara. Yeah.
Like, go get all the ingredients, go get the vegetables and the sweets and the chipped rice. No, chipped rice, it's weird because we don't have such a thing here.
Flat
But
rice. Right?
if Europeans might know about this, because there's ever see these oatmeal makers that you take the oat groat and you put it through.
you
Europeans got
you
this
soak
down.
it. You soak the rice and then you flatten it, right?
No, I don't
Yeah.
think so. I've seen how they make oatmeal, and you put a
Okay.
oat groat into this machine, and it comes out flattened, and then you soak it.
Well, maybe, but in any case, it's rice that's been flattened.
It's right. It's like flattened, like
I believe
oatmeal, but it's
it's
rice.
moistened and then flattened and then dried out, and
Yeah, and in
then you
Bengal,
moisten
they
it.
make these incredible preparations with this, like sweet ones, savory ones, thousands of different flavors. It is a catering dream come true.
So,
Um,
so this was like an outdoor kind of spontaneous event, but it started taking off into this incredible festival, and people were coming from all the villages because it's like Nityananda's here, they're doing kirtan, it's mind blowing, and they're having this big huge feast. Everybody come.
It
This,
sounds crazy if we even say it. It's one of those things that this stuff happens in India on a
it
regular
does.
basis. Like, there's a big festival, it just started
Everybody come.
spontaneously.
Yeah.
There's a holy person here. Everybody's like bowing down to each other, serving out desserts. Come on.
And so now Raghunath Das Goswami, he's accepted this punishment. It's a loving punishment. It's a beautiful punishment. Your punishment, serve all the devotees. That's, You know, that's our process. And how do you serve them? And what is our practice? It's all joyful, right? We're going to do kirtan and we're going to have a big feast. You know, please the hearts of these devotees. So he goes out and he's going to all like the local merchants and he's buying up all the bananas and all the rice and all the ingredients for this. And they got these pots, right? It said he bought 200 to 400 huge pots, you know, and they're making these massive, you know, and we've seen that in India too, right? Like I've seen India where they dig a huge pit in the ground and they learn how to cook like khichdi in that pit. You know, it's
It's
like,
like an art. It's like an art to
yeah,
see them cook, because the real cultured people, well, you have no option really. I mean, you get a candy stove, but you build a huge fire and you cook on. I mean, the caterers know this. You're cooking on fire with giant vats and like an oar from a boat, and that's how
big
they're
boat or
stirring.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to quantity cook for 30 people. Can you imagine quantity cooking for like 400, 500? Kostuba and myself and some of you guys, we've been in feasts where there's like they're cooking for 900 people,
Yeah.
and it's
No, no,
all
thousands.
fresh.
Thousands even. Yeah.
Thousands. Nothing's from Trader Joe's, prepackaged, frozen, no tater tots coming out of the oven. This is all freshly made stuff from scratch and served out fresh.
Okay, we're running out of time. And you're going into great detail in terms of the
Tater
caterer.
tots.
Yeah. But let's share a bit more about this, okay? We can
Okay,
go a few
go.
minutes over. Because so what happens is it's so far out that it's like even these far things are happening. Like he's going to all the merchants and buying all their bananas and all their ingredients, cooking it, and then giving it right back to them. You know, like all these kind of comical things are happening, but he gets the blessings of Lord Nityananda through this. That very soon, right? Very soon you will be able to, you know, connect and serve Sri Chaitanya. And so Nityananda, again, he is that personification of guru. When we think of guru, right, don't get mixed up. There's all these people out there going under the title guru. Guru means servant, right?
Hmm.
It means the one who embodies and exemplifies service, and through that can connect you, right? And so Nityananda is that original personification or embodiment of the deep mood of service, the deep mood of guru. And through his blessings, you can see the instruction: chant, you know, chant in kirtan, serve the Vaishnavas, you know, serve everyone, you know, serve them prasad, you know, connect them with God. And through that simple, joyful process, Bhakti Yoga's practice. It wasn't Raghunath Goswami, you know, go to the forest and meditate, you know, perform austerities, perform renunciation. It wasn't anything like that. It was
Render
render
humble
service
service.
to all the
That's
dented
the master
kings.
yoga. That's
Yeah.
the yoga masters class. I used to do these yoga masters class, and put a picture of me doing this like lotus handstand. And when they finally get to the class, I was like, this got nothing to do with being the master, learning some. The master teacher, and to be the real master, we're cultivating service. And this is the beauty of Lord Nityananda, which touches everybody's heart and has sort of saved our life.
All right.
The master serving, Kostub.
Yeah.
Any other highlights?
No, I think we're out of time, but you know, just one thing I may say. Have you been to Ekachakra at Lord Nityananda's
I've never
birthplace?
been there. I've
Oh
never been there.
man, Raghu, we
I
got to
know. I
do
know.
that.
Let's go to Ekachakra.
I went there years ago. It was, and at that point, that it was this little village out in the middle of nowhere in West Bengal, and with no electricity there.
Who needs
And
electricity? It's
R-
overrated.
Raghunath, you want to talk about far out dreams? Oh my God, that night, I was sleeping in hay, literally in hay, like in a big pile of hay, and
Sleeping in a big pile of hay. I
yeah,
love
it
it.
was there was this temple
Arvind
under.
says it's the same. It's still the same.
Yeah, still no electricity. I heard that
Yeah,
they did have
yeah.
electricity, but maybe they don't. But
Mm.
it's the people there. So you come in there into town, and all the children come running out. They're like Johnny Ty. That's like, you know, all glories to Lord Nityananda. Johnny Ty. That's what they all say there. You come into town, they all start running at you, just like cheering, and they're happy and they're ecstatic. Johnny Ty, Johnny Ty, Johnny Ty. You would love it, Raghunath.
All right, let's go.
And there's
Let's
beautiful
go.
cows and calves. And when you sleep there, I was told that you have the most far dreams, Raghunath. The dream I had that night, I woke up and fell asleep like 4 or 5 times, and each time I went back to sleep, I had mind blowing, incredible spiritual dreams.
All right,
we
so
got to
this-
go.
we got to go, and I think this is the day everybody's got to do some prayers, even if you don't quite fully get it. Do some prayers to Lord Nityananda.
Yeah.
Help me become the greatest servant.
What's your favorite Nitai bhajan?
Nitai pada kamala.
You should break out the harmonium.
That one. Oh, everybody, we do it every day. That could be our subtitle. Wisdom of the sages. We do it every day.
Yeah.
Do it every day. Every day we do it. Let's have a contest. We can come up with the best subtitle.
You know, I got an
Wisdom of
idea,
the
Raghu.
sages. Every day.
We do it every day.
Every
we
day.
should have a Super Soul Farm Punny Hutty festival in June.
Of course, when we say that, we mean Mara cooks it all.
Well, that's the blessing.
Like we should have.
right?
And Mara's like, I know exactly what this means. Yeah, we should have lots of food.
Let's do it though. You know, lots of kirtan.
I'll be in charge of the serve out. I love serving out.
It actually would be easier for Mara because it's just like two dishes, like two chipped rice dishes.
Hey, Aravind just says, on Shobha Yatra this week, we prepared lunch for 5,000 people in New Delhi.
Shobha Yatra.
Pretty
What is Shobha
impressive.
Yatra?
Shobha Yatra.
I never heard of
pretty
Shobha
impressive.
Yatra.
Wow. A lot of stuff happening here. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Hey, make sure you check out the Rich Roll podcast. It comes out today.
Oh, yeah.
Share it with your friends.
Which
I
roll?
haven't heard it yet. I'm a little nervous that I might have said stupid things, but fingers crossed.
We say stupid things every day.
I say stupid things every day on a regular basis. That's why, of course, I've got to say something stupid. Why don't you guys listen for the stupid and just let me know, remind me. Oh, Raghu. But you could take a picture of it and post it and just say, hey, check out, check this out. That would be great. And tag Rich Roll so he sees that all our people are listening. Thanks, everybody, for joining us every day.